Hi, my name is Leandro Facchinetti, and let's write some code together, shall we? Today, what we have on the menu is to continue working on this app called Notestrator. It's a desktop app that allows you to draw. So if you have a tablet like this, or maybe if you just want to use the mouse, you can draw on top of your computer screen, which is useful for streaming. Of course, that's the initial motivation for this project, but also it can be useful if you're an educator or if you are doing a presentation on Skype, that sort of thing. And more specifically, what we are going to do today is one of my favorite things to do in a code base. So the app currently works. I mean, it is a working prototype at this point. You can draw and you can like switch to different colors and different stroke widths and that sort of thing. So the app is mostly working. And at this point, I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to go over the code base, refactor some things, find which things are still left to do before we can do a release. So I'm working towards the first release of the app. And yeah, we have almost 2,000 lines of code to review. And maybe even more because I may want to review what's in here as well. I guess I sort of started doing this last time we were together. That was Monday. Yeah, but it doesn't hurt to start from here. So this is a desktop app. It's written in Electron, so it's using JavaScript. And yeah. So the first things here are not that this is an NPM package that I'm going to publish to NPM, the package manager, but I need these things here for packaging the application for distribution. So when I generate a .app or a .exe, the tool that I use to build will look at this metadata and create, for instance, a Notestrator.app based on this name here. And let's see. I guess at this point we may want to think of a better name for the app, but I think I'm just gonna go with Notestrator. It has Note in the app, and it's sort of a telestrator app, so kind of like the name at this point. Got used to it. So description: draw on top of your computer screen and your OBS streams. Yeah, no, stream singular, computer screen and OBS stream. There you go. So the main is index.js, which is this file over here. We are going to look at that. Most of this stream is going to be about that. Then the repository on GitHub, some keywords, drawing, OBS, note-taking, Electron. Yeah. Author seems fine. License is okay. Debugs, homepage, scripts. On post install, there is this problem of Node.js having to have two worlds. There is the world in development, which is really a Node.js environment, and it's the thing that runs on the command line. For instance, in this case, it's version 16.5 that I have installed on my machine. And that when I run npm install something, that's the version that actually runs. But when I am in the Electron land, when I am actually running the app, I'm running a different version of Node, and it's a version of Node that comes bundled with the rest of the Electron dependencies. Things like the Chromium environment that comes with Electron. Well, it also comes with its own Node.js environment. So I have to recompile some dependencies if I have dependencies in my project that are native dependencies. These are dependencies that are written in C and C++ and are compiled to your native platform. So in this case, macOS here on my computer. Well, if you have dependencies like these, you have to recompile them for Electron, for the other version of Node in Electron. And currently, I don't think I have any native dependency in my project, but Electron Builder is this tool that, well, it packages the app. It's what produces a .app, but it also comes with this utility, install app deps, that recompiles the native dependencies for the node that comes with Electron if necessary, if I had any native dependency. And It's nice to have this line here because if I introduce a native dependency later, I will not trip over this when I try to use the dependency. So it's nice to just have this line here as a default. And then to start the app for development, I use the Electron command line tool. And to build, I just call Electron Builder. It's a very simple setup. Then in terms of dependencies, these are the production dependencies, the dependencies that will ship with the app. So I have here a set of icons and Express and OBS WebSocket.js. So these icons are just to make things look pretty, but these two are for this extended functionality that I didn't really talk about, which is to draw on top of an OBS stream, the same way that I can draw on top of my computer screen. So that's an extended feature. It may not ship with the first version of the app, but dependencies are already here for that. So I guess I'm going to start taking notes here because I already know a couple things that I want to change. And right now the README is just a dump of everything that I have been thinking about. So there are some to-dos, some implementation notes, even a link to this thing that we found like on our first stream on this topic, and I meant to contact these people and say that I'm working on something similar. So this is also an Electron app, also allows to draw you on top of the computer screen, but it's different in many ways. So I meant to contact these people and let them know that I am working on this similar solution. It's in the same space, but never got around to doing that. This README file is just where nodes go to die at this point. In any case, I think I'm going to maybe not have this stuff for the first release. So it will just be draw on top of your computer screen. And I can then uninstall Express and OBS WebSocket.js. Also, and that's why I opened the README, I want to switch from font awesome to either Bootstrap icons or something custom made, some icons that we develop ourselves. I'm not going to change this right now because it will break everything in the app. The icons will no longer be there. Now, in terms of development dependencies, we have a couple packages that I developed, and I explained what's going on here in excruciating detail on Monday. So I'm not going to go over that again. Then Electron and Electron Builder. And at this point, I don't think it hurts for me to check if there are new versions of these guys. Yep, there is a new version of Electron. So the font awesome I don't care about because I'm going to switch anyway, but there is a new version of Electron. So update Electron. And hopefully nothing will break, though it is a major bump. I think that nothing will break because we are doing the things that we are doing are so simple with Electron that it must not break, right? Then everything else is the latest. And then I have some configuration here that we still have to flesh out. So I guess that's another to do. Flesh out the metadata for Electron Builder. And over here, we'll have an icon. We'll have many more things that need to go here. But right now, we just have an app ID, which is, I guess, necessary for the app to identify to the operating system. This is not something that you see as a user of the app. You only see the product name. All right. Those are simple changes. Maybe. So here's something. Maybe we can try to update Electron real quick. It shouldn't be too hard. So let's just start the app and see if it's working. Oh, it's not working because on the main file, we are still importing Express. But the thing is, we're not using it. So it's fine for me to just not heavy there. See, the app works. I'm going to commit this latest change. And I'm going to install for development Electron latest. And if you are wondering, well, if this is an Electron app, why do you install Electron for development? And I had that same question, and I kind of explained everything about this in a previous stream. But in summary, Electron is a development dependency because for production, Electron Builder is going to download an Electron skeleton and embed your application in there. So the Electron command line tool and Electron in general is just for development. So I updated to the latest version of Electron, and oh, there are some new things here, but it still works. And anytime I update something, I think it's nice to also look at the, especially when it's a major release, to look at the changelog. But this is working, so I'm going to commit this. And then I'm going to look at what's going on here. So the default native window open is deprecated and will be changing from false to true. So we don't have that in our code base, but let's check this. Okay, what's this about? The native window open system, well, window open is like in a browser when you want to open a new tab or a pop-up window. Not in Electron land, but in the browser land. The native window open system has been better for quite a while now, and it resolves a lot of issues. We should make it the default and replace the old browser window proxy based method. We don't have any of these in the code base as well. So I guess this native window open is an option that I pass to the browser window and I'm creating it. Ah, okay. Exactly. So there are these web preferences. I can come back to the app and web preferences. And I'm doing this in two places that are not commented out. Two places that are not commented out. And I suppose that what I have to do is just dump this here. Ah, that's interesting. I'm trying to run prettier to format my code, and Visual Studio Code complains that the extension live share cannot format index.js, but I'm not using live share. Live share is disabled. I can cancel this. The operation was canceled. Yeah, so I'm not in live share, and I don't know why it would think that I am in live share. But in any case, yeah, the warning went away and I can draw. So everything is working. Let's take a quick peek at the changelog for Electron. I don't know where the changelog is kept. Releases. Well, that is not the latest. It's funny how it is the latest on NPM, but it's not the latest over here. But in any case, it doesn't hurt for us to just take a quick peek. And how about here, the releases? Yeah, just the beta stuff. Well, it has been only 5 hours since this release, so I wonder what's the situation in NPM. Maybe I shouldn't be upgrading to version 15. Wait, did I upgrade to version 15 or to version 14? I updated to version 14. Okay, I was just confusing myself. Okay, so I was not updating to version 15, so looking at this is what makes sense. Okay, has been a week now. Fair. So now let's see. Child windows no longer inherit browser window construction options from their parents. We do have a child window. The menu to switch the colors and everything is a child window of one of the drawing windows. We have multiple drawing windows now to support multiple displays. But I didn't even know that this child window was inheriting the browser window stuff, so I think we'll be fine. And deprecated world safe execute JavaScript was removed from web preferences, but I didn't even know that thing existed. We were not using that. Removed deprecated additional features property from new window and did create window. I think these are events. Yeah, they are web content events, but we are not using them. And removed deprecated allow renderer process reuse and browser window affinity options. I don't think we were using those either. Then let's see what they added. Oh my god, that is a long change log. But I don't think anything affects us. So let's continue. And I suppose with that, I can remove this update Electron task. I thought this was going to be easy and fast, and it was. So we already looked at the package JSON, and then we have a couple other files. This is just so on my GitHub page for the project, it shows my link to Patreon and whatnot. Are you supporting me in Patreon? You should. Then in terms of the git ignore, we have the node modules and the dist directories. I prefer to have a / at the end, just to really drive home the point that these are directories and that they live in the root of my project. So don't think it makes any difference in most cases. I don't know. It's just a thing that I do. And I don't like how dist is the directory that Electron Builder puts my .app stuff. But yeah, it is what it is. It puts it there, and I'm probably not going to change that. Then this is just boilerplate. This is the file that we really need to look at. And we may take a look at the logo as well. And yeah, so now let's dive in here. And let's see. First, we require stuff that we need from Electron. Let's see if the order in which we import these things makes sense. I want to tell a story to the reader. So the first thing that happens in the app is the app, then some browser windows, some ways for the windows to communicate. And then why do we even have screen? Well, because we want to have multiple drawing windows for multiple screens. That's okay. Global shortcut and tray and menu. I guess all of that makes sense, and I like the order. Then these are... So I think that Electron needs to be like the first thing to represent this is an Electron app. Then I require stuff that comes with Node.js. So nothing too interesting. Then now I have this giant if block with 1,000 lines of code. And this is, I kind of explained this on Monday, but it's a sort of a static website generator that only runs in development. So only runs when the app is not packaged. And it generates this HTML and this shortcuts JSON file. And you may be wondering what they are about when I was looking at the files. Well, they are sort of a static website generator, but it's not a website. They generate the HTML in CSS and client-side JavaScript for the browser windows that you see in the app, like the menu, for instance. So the bulk of our work today is going to be looking at this. So I'm going to keep this for later. Then what we do in the main Electron process in terms of initialization is very short. It's only these lines of code. And then we have some junk here that has to do with the OBS stuff, how I was implementing the OBS stuff. It was an experiment, mostly. So it was like one stream. In 1 hour, I implemented a proof of concept of drawing on top of your OBS stream. And I think that we want to keep that, but maybe just as a note here in the README, I'll just dump this over here. And it's really annoying me that I cannot run Prettier. I have so much muscle memory to do this. I run Prettier thousands and thousands of times a day. So I guess I'm going to stop Visual Studio Code, reopen it, and hope for the best. It's still loading extensions. And there you go. So the extension LiveShare cannot format index.js. So maybe I will uninstall LiveShare. Okay, extension MS LiveShare is not configured as formatter. Oh, it is configured as formatter but not available. Select a different default formatter to continue. Ah, okay, so I think I understand what's happening. That's unfortunate. Yesterday or 2 days ago, I forget. It was on Tuesday, so 2 days ago. I was streaming with Arya over at IDDQD and we used LiveShare so that I could connect to his machine and I would be able to write JavaScript there and I could use Prettier on his machine. I could format the code on his machine. The problem is, apparently that works by LiveShare taking over the formatter. But then when LiveShare is not even running, I'm running now. Now I'm developing code on my machine. It was still trying to take over as the formatter for the code. And it was preventing Prettier, which should be the formatter. It prevents Prettier from working. Well, that's interesting, actually. So the way that LiveShare works when you are doing Prettier stuff is it takes over as the formatter for the code. That doesn't sound too polished, and LiveShare is still like a work in progress. So, yep. IDDQD sound. Hey, Arya. It's great to have you here. Well, we are at the review stage. Is it done? No, it's not. What we are doing is just something, one of my favorite things to do in a code base. I'm going over what I wrote. We already have like 1,200 lines of code, so it's a relatively big code base at this point. I mean, it's still a very simple app, but it's 1,200 lines of code, and I'm going over what we have, and I'm changing some things that I already know I need to change. For instance, we just updated the version of Electron that we are using for development, but then I'm also taking notes of things that we need to do to prepare for this release. So I think that we are about done in terms of the features that will go in version 1.0. So it's just a matter of polishing everything, making it ready for distribution. So things like creating a logo for the app, and what else do we have here? Some style changes that I want to do to make the thing look better, but I can show you the current state of things. It's not done, but it's looking okay. The menu is still not complete. I mean, I can... Oh, so something weird happened. And it probably has to do with updating the version of Electron, which I just did. Now I can no longer access the menu. That's unfortunate. And I could just downgrade Electron, but I think that moving forward, that's not a smart idea, so I'll have to figure this out. But in any case, using keyboard shortcuts, I can switch colors and everything. So that is mostly working, but it doesn't look all right. I still have to come here and change this bottom part of the menu, mostly. And now I have this weird window situation that I need to fix. So I'm going to quit the app and put it on the list of to-dos. So since the Electron 14 update, the menu isn't clickable. And I bet that it has to do with one of the changelog entries that said that the child windows no longer inherit the property from inherit properties from the parent window. And probably that messed something up. We'll figure it out. Great looking menu. Oh, thank you. I think it's going to look even better, but it's all right for now. Okay, so let's see what we have in terms of the main process in Electron. You can think of this as like if an Electron application is a browser in disguise, then the main process is the browser, the thing that manages tabs being opened and closed and that sort of thing. So it is the Chrome around the application. And in this case, it's literally Google Chrome around the application. It's Chromium. Anyway, so what we do here is, first of all, we have to wait for the app to be ready so I can start doing things like creating windows. And that's something that you just have to do because, so I have a bunch of things that I deleted and I changed. So maybe I will commit this. So you can do whatever when you're loading the Electron app. Like I have this 1,000 lines of code here that will do the HTML, the CSS, the JavaScript, and the client side, all those things. But you don't have to wait for the app to be ready for that. So I have that here. And then over here, I'm going to do Electron stuff. So I have this as a warning to the reader as well. We are about to enter Electron land here. And I really appreciate how this is a single file. So in development, you can just literally do Electron dot in your app starts. Very simple stuff. We sort of hacked a static website generator in here. And by the way, Arya, since you know all about this static website generation thing, this is using the same technologies as, so this is going to be the same technologies as the technologies we were using, of course, because I developed these things, so I tend to use them. And it is similar in spirit to what we are doing to your website. It's just that these HTML pages are not going to be served by a web server. They're going to compose what is the desktop app. And that's what I really like about Electron. It has all the disadvantages that many people complain about. It's bloated, it is memory hungry and whatnot, but it allows me to transfer my web development skills into desktop development. And I bet that I couldn't make a menu that is as good looking if I was using the default APIs for macOS, and especially if as I want this app to be cross-platform. If I'm using something like Java so that it is cross-platform, then I bet that I cannot make something that looks as good as this. But web development, I know how to do that, so I know how to make it look good. All right, so primary drawing. And I guess just to complete my point, if I was not using Electron, I probably would not be taking this project up, and then my users would not have an app at all. So I guess this is better than just using the native APIs, because in that case, there would be no app. So for some reason, you cannot see the text. The phone is allowing only 144p, which is very, very low resolution. That's interesting. Here in OBS, I see a green dot, or a green square, which means that probably the network from my side is okay. So if YouTube is not giving you the higher resolution, it's probably because YouTube is silly. YouTube in Studio, I also see that there is an excellent connection, it says here. So I don't think that Studio is to blame. I mean, I don't think that YouTube is to blame on my side. YouTube is to blame on your side. And I don't know what that is about. But in any case, switch to the computer, you should see things. And I'm running a low resolution on my display, so the letters are huge, at least in front of me, they look huge. And that is so that you all in the stream can see things better. especially because it's going to be smaller for you. I see in 140, well, it's 720p, but it's double the density. Yeah, okay. On the computer, it looks good. Great. Okay, so this primary drawing thing, what is this about? Well, I want the app to be able to support multiple displays. And to support multiple displays, I need to have multiple drawing windows on each display. I tried to just have one window that would span across all the displays, but I don't think that's possible. So I have multiple drawing windows. I have a list of an array of drawing windows, but I need to know what is the primary drawing window because that's where I draw the menu. So that's what this is about, the primary drawing stuff. Okay, so let's see. The drawings we use Screen, which is an Electron API to get all the displays, and then we map over them. And I have to have this index because if I am looking at the first, then I need to remember that this is the primary drawing. So the primary display, which has the primary drawing. So I don't know exactly if there is a notion of screen primary, get primary display. And I'm not sure that the primary display will be the first on the list. May not be. So I need to get instead of using the index, which is a hack, I should instead check if the display that I currently have is the same as the primary. Well, how do I do that? Is there some sort of ID? Unique ID associated with the display. Awesome. So what I can do instead of this hack, this was done in a haste when I was implementing multi-screen support, which was like 5 minutes in the end of a stream. So instead I'm going to have display.id equal to screen primary display ID. There you go. That's all there is to that. So now it will probably get the right display. Let's see. Okay, it's still showing the menu. And that's all I can ask for. And it wouldn't hurt. Well, hang in there. I will first commit what I have. Then I'm going to check that the primary drawing is not null or something, because the primary drawing is only used here as the parent of the menu, and the menu is behaving in this new strange way. So my guess is that maybe the primary drawing is not being assigned ever, and this comparison never holds. I don't know. We'll see. But first, let's commit this. So to test that this is not null, I'm going to console log the primary drawing. And I see something. So that is not the problem. The logic that we just wrote works. Excellent. Now let's review the properties we are passing to the drawing windows. Now there are multiple of them. So we are passing the display bounds, and that is so that the drawing window will occupy the full display. Then I want the thing to occupy the full display and be even on top of the menu. So I think that's why I have this option. Then you can never close. You can always tell the app to hide the window, hide the drawing window, but you can never close it. As long as the app is running, there is a drawing window. It's just hidden in some cases. And then minimizable, maximizable, movable, resizable, they are all false for this reason. The drawing window just occupies the whole screen. And I don't want a frame. This is a frame, for instance, with the little buttons here and something to allow you to drag stuff. So this is a frame. I don't want a frame, and I want the window to be transparent. And I don't want the window to have a shadow, because otherwise my drawing has a shadow. It's super weird. I don't want a drawing window to have rounded corners like these rounded corners. Yeah, we had that before, and then you couldn't draw like right about here, you would not be able to draw. Then I want to skip the taskbar. Well, I think this only applies on Windows and the app is broken on Windows. I think we are going to release with Mac only support and then Windows support will come later. I don't know what I need to do to fix things on Windows. And then in terms of web preferences, these two options are going to disable some security mechanisms in Electron that would prevent us from using things like interprocess communication easily. I mean, there would be other ways of doing that, jumping through more hoops, but this just disables all the security, which is fine because I am doing the HTML myself. This would not be fine if I had an Electron app that would load HTML from the web, for instance, which is something you can do. You can transform a web application into a desktop application in Spirit by just creating a browser window that loads a file from the internet. And you have a desktop application for your web app. Of course, it's not as simple as that, but especially if you're doing that to a third party, you don't want to disable the security things. But here, I am enabling the node integration and disabling the context isolation. I also added this option just now. It seems to be necessary for Electron 14, and don't ask me about it. I don't know what that is about. Let's see, whether to use native window open. Defaults to false. Child windows will always have node integration disabled unless node integration in subframes is true. Well, I don't actually have window open in my app, but I do have a child window and it is misbehaving. So the default value will be changing to true in Electron 15. But what happens if I just use false here? I mean, that could be a solution for the menu problem. No, that is not a solution. So I guess I'm going to keep the true default, but there is also this other part that says node integration in subframes. I'm going to enable these in both. Now, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just hoping for the best. No, I cannot interact with the menu. Okay. Cannot blame Electron too much. It is a major release, so yeah, it's expected some things will break. Then on the drawing windows, and now I have multiple of them, but on the drawing windows, I have to use this trick that I copied from Cap, the window capture app for Mac. Yeah, this it's an open source app that records your computer screen, and it has an overlay to let you select which part of the screen you want to capture. And I lifted code from there. So these tricks are super cool. And this is how I can have a window sitting on top of everything, even sitting on top of a full screen app, for instance. If I do this, it becomes a full screen app. And still, I can draw on top of this. Oh, it doesn't work all that well anymore, does it? Ah, that's unfortunate. Yep. As you see, Aria, not 100% done. I'll take note of this on the README. Then, yeah, so the trick was to use the screensaver. So I'm pretending that I am a screensaver, which should be on top of everything in the computer. And it should be, this line is the one that should be letting the app work on full screen. Set visible or on all workspaces, visible on full screen. So this is like, please let my app be on top of everything, take precedence over everything. Then I'm loading the drawing file, which is the HTML file that we are going to talk about later. And then I am checking if I am the primary display to get a hold of the thing so that the menu can be on top of it. It's not, which is unfortunate. So let's see. Here I do the same trick where I get the bounds of the screen. I don't know exactly why I do that. Probably because of the X and Y coordinates. But I wonder what happens if I don't have that. I think it will work just the same. No, it's on the center. So there you go. And then I have the size, and this is not closable, minimizable, maximizable, and resizable, but it is movable. Then I don't want to have a frame. I don't want it to be focusable. And this again is some Windows stuff that is left over, and then the web preferences are the same. So this is not interactive anymore. What happens if I let the window be focusable? Nothing. What happens if I do something that I probably shouldn't, but I say that the menu window is even on top of the drawing window? Now that works. And I just said that I don't want to use this. And the reason why I don't want to use this is that I read in the documentation that screensaver 1 should be the maximum. Apple recommends that you don't go over screensaver 1. But I think that I need at least screensaver 1 for the thing to be on top of everything. So this is something that Apple doesn't recommend, but it seems to work. So maybe fix me. Apple recommends that you don't go over screensaver 1. But it fixed the problem that we have, so I'm going to fly with that. Then we have an evaluate function. This evaluate function is super interesting because it is a function that breaks the security between windows between processes in the Electron app. And this is not a bad thing. Actually, it's a good thing. I think it helps organize the code in a way that makes sense. So what's happening here is I have some drawing windows. I have a menu window. They are literally different browser tabs in this weird browser that is Electron. But I want to be able to run code from anywhere in any context. So if I am in the drawing window, I want to be able to run code in the menu window, for instance, right? So I want that to be the case. And for that to work, I have this evaluate function that will take as arguments the process and the JavaScript. So the process is, where do you want to run this? The main process, the main Electron process, all the drawing windows, or the menu window? And what is the JavaScript that I want to run? So if I'm running in the main process, I'm already in the main process, I just evaluate JavaScript. This is a function that comes with JavaScript. It evaluates JavaScript code. I don't know why the documentation says evaluates and executes. What is the difference? I don't know. Then drawing, this is going to run on all drawing windows. So it is an array. And why do I do it this way? I guess it would make more sense. Well, I have changes. So let me see the changes and commit before I start doing more changes. Okay, that looks good. I don't know why I'm doing this way. I think it would make more sense for me to return drawings map of drawing and then can I do this? Maybe that's why I'm doing it this way. Can the map be... Oh, I guess it can be, but then this is going to return a bunch of promises. Yeah, it's going to return a bunch of promises. And then I can just await on promise all. Yeah, I think that this reads better. Not by much, though. But yeah, so we are doing a bunch of things with drawings. We are mapping over them, all the drawing windows. And we are doing something asynchronous And it's kind of silly to have async await like this, but I think it's more explicit. Helps bring out the point that this is asynchronous. There is also this promise all, of course, but there you have it. And then we are going to the drawing windows and executing JavaScript. You know what? Now that I see this await, promise all, async await, I think I understand why I did it that way in the first place. I'm going to go back. And that's why I compulsively commit, because I can do this thing. I can just return. So yeah, returns is a terrible name. Evaluate results. How do they call that? They don't have a name for it. Okay. So evaluate, not evaluate results, evaluation results. Yeah, I like this better. It is fewer lines of code. It's less magic. It doesn't use the promise all API, and it's more in line with code that you would write in languages like Lua. So I think this is more readable. So evaluation results, and then push into the evaluation results, await, execute JavaScript on the drawing, which ships JavaScript to be executed in that browser window. And then I just return that. Now, there is something I want to change about the name of the event. Currently, or the name of the process. Currently, the name of the process is drawing, and that made sense when we had a single drawing window when we didn't support multiple displays. But now that we have multiple drawing windows, I think that this name should be drawings. I think it should be plural. But before we do that, on the chat we have Riparini. Is that how you pronounce this? I don't know. Despite my last name, I am not Italian, and I have never been to Italy, and I don't speak any Italian, so I don't know if this is how you pronounce. I did watch the video, and let me give some context. Riparini featured my auto mixer in one of his videos, and I am delighted by that. Thank you for doing that. But then the video is in Italian, and I watched that video, and I was like, I understand some of this because I speak Portuguese, but not most of it. In any case, Riparini is here. Hello. And says, hi, thank you, Leandro, for all the context you put, the content you put out on YouTube. I'm glad that you like it. I am on a JSFX tutorial marathon tonight. Wish me luck. Have a nice stream. Okay. Yeah, enjoy. Arya and I developed a lot of material in that space, and as far as I can tell, it is the only place where you will find JSFX programming material on YouTube. There are lots of people reviewing JSFX, and there are awesome entries on the forum, on the Reaper forums. And of course, there is also the documentation, but something targeted at beginners in audio effects programming, but beginners to programming in general, and that talks about real-time audio processing and JS effects. I think it's kind of unique, and Arya and I are the only people doing that these days. So I hope that you like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and change this drawing into drawings in all places that matter. So let's go from position 1 onwards. Can you see this on the stream? Barely. Yeah, good enough. So in this case, I don't want to change that. But in this case, I do. So I'm going to change this here, and there, and there, and there, and there. And there you go. Now let's review this. And this is the kind of change that I really need to review carefully, because it's a single letter, but it could break everything. Yep, looks good. Now, let's review this in the sense, let's try this again. Let's see if it's still working. So I can still draw, and I can still switch colors using keyboard shortcuts, which means that this whole evaluate thing is working. Now, You can also evaluate stuff on the menu, and that is a simpler version of what we had here. And then we can, by default, this thing is going to throw if you try to evaluate on a process that doesn't exist. And I may want to do something like this, just to mark where the error happened. Oh, I don't think I need that actually. The error is probably going to be accompanied by some stack trace. So that's probably okay. Oh, and these files need to change as well. Yeah, they are part of the static website generated thing. Now, this is just a function. Here is the handler of the event. So I have an inter-process communication setup that allows me to send events from the browser windows to the main Electron process. And this is where I handle those events. And they are called evaluate. And of course, they are just an event wrapper around the evaluate function, as you can see. So here I have an async thing, which takes the configuration for evaluation. So this configuration is just forwarded to here, and then I run evaluate. Then I register a global keyboard shortcut. That's necessary because when the app is closed, or not closed, but when the app is hidden, like this, the app is hidden. It's still running. You can see it on the menu bar over here, but it's hidden. You don't see the menu, for instance. Well, in that case, I want to have a global keyboard shortcut that is going to work anywhere. Like right now, I'm in Visual Studio Code, and I just hit this keyboard shortcut, and I'm back into drawing mode. Now, what is unfortunate is that the menu is not back. In Electron 13, if I brought back the parent window, which is this drawing window, the child window, which was the menu, would come along for the ride. That's no longer the case. Now, one fix for this is to just show the menu in that case, which is an easy fix. So now I can draw something and I can hide, and then I can bring it back with the keyboard shortcut and it's back. That's all right, but now it seems like we lost most of the features from having a parent window in the first place. So maybe we'll not have that anymore. Let's see, yeah. Let's go back to this part of the code and remove all of this, because I don't seem to be getting any advantage of this parent situation that I have going on anymore, which is unfortunate. Now I'm having to do more work by it, but it is what it is. So primary drawing, I don't need that anymore. Now let me look for where I'm using it. Seems good. That simplified a couple things. I'm looking at this and wondering if I should do the same thing I did down below where it read drawings. It was similar to that. Then we had some loop, and then we would drawings push. But because this is synchronous and I don't have to wait on a lot of stuff, I think it makes more sense to have it this way. I'm okay with having different styles when it's justified. So there you go. We lost the child-parent relationship between the windows. It is what it is. Then we have a tray icon, which is our logo over here. And I am running on 2x display. So I'm loading this file, and I thought that this file would work on displays that are not running at 2x, but I read somewhere that this is not the case, that it just doesn't load an image for the tray icon. I don't know, we'll have to test that. So I'll put here on my list of things to do, but not right now. Test that the logo works on 1x displays. I'll be more specific, that the logo on the menu bar, well, it isn't called a menu bar, it's called a tray in Electron. Probably because it's multi-platform. It is. We tested this on Windows and it works. So we have a new tray and we set the tooltip. Oh, didn't even know we had a tooltip. Or I don't even remember. Ah, so something else happened. when I loaded the app, the menu window flashed on the left, but then went away. And that's it probably has to do with the parent situation that I just removed. We'll have to investigate, but okay, we have a tooltip, Notestrator, here it is. And the menu flashed back. This is a weird glitch. Yeah, okay. Menu is flashing in weird ways. Maybe bring back the child-parent relationship. I don't know. Looking at the clock now, I can tell for sure that I will not be able to finish this pass. But that's all right. We'll return tomorrow to work more on this. So then I have this context menu that you saw me interacting with a minute ago. And I create a menu and I build a menu from a template. And I only have two options: to draw, which has this accelerator. Oh, okay. So when I am doing this, I need to do that as well. So I suppose now this is a perfect time for me to extract a function that reads like show, that does all of this. And I extracted the function so that I can do that. And now I can actually do this. Oh, and I have another one of these for quit. Isn't that something? All right. So now I'm not sure that this is the best place to have this. Maybe this should go near quit. Yeah, they make sense together. And maybe the menu was flashing in weird ways because I did not have Windows show when I ran this, maybe. Oh, but I had it when I used the keyboard shortcut, which is what I used, I think. I forget what I did. In any case, there is also quit, which has the accelerator command Q. That's going to call the quit function. And I'm going to commit what I have. And maybe these functions should come closer to here. Where else am I showing stuff? Oh, in this place, I guess I could just have this. It's equivalent. Yeah, so there you go. They are two different ways. I can use the keyboard shortcut or I can use the menu button. So that's why I extracted this into a function. And I guess the same is going to hold for this, right? Quit can be accessed from the menu bar or from a keyboard shortcut. And that's why it is a function. Then I will add an event listener. Ah, okay. I think I remember what this is about. This is super weird. Let me commit what I have, which is just a simple refactoring, okay? And I'll talk about this. So I wonder if I could do this for evaluate over here. No, because there is a first argument that I need to ignore. The first argument being the event itself. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I guess that's an argument for not having this like this. Because show is going to be a function that ignores its arguments, but this is conceptually wrong because the register thing, I think this is an event handler, right? And the event handler could receive arguments. It doesn't in actuality, but it could receive arguments. So in any case, I think this is more intention revealing. And I'm going to do the same over here. Okay, so I sort of undid the refactoring, but that's all right. And then I have this, and this is super weird. The thing is, when I was starting out with the tray icon, it was being garbage collected. And then because of garbage collection, the icon would just go away after a couple seconds. So I just wrote this, which is listening for an event in the app, accessibility support changed, which is a bogus event. It exists, but it's just a silly event that I created so that I could have this closure that would capture this and would prevent the tray icon from being garbage collected. Is there a smarter way of doing this? First of all, is it still a problem? I think it is. Yes, it still is a problem. And it is a problem because this variable can be garbage collected. So I think that the menu icon will just go away. It's there. And I can draw. Maybe it will not go away. Now that I have a menu in there, this menu. Maybe it will not go away. Okay. Let me interact with the menu. Yep, all right, okay. So no longer an issue, I guess. I'm happy to delete that. Then we have the application menu. Okay, so this is what would show up here if I had anything showing up here, but I don't. I don't have windows that have frames, and I hide them from here as well. When I'm running the app, it should not appear over here. See, it shows up, but then it goes away. So it means that I never have a menu up here. But I still have settings for that menu over there, and you may be thinking, well, isn't that silly? It is silly, but it's a hack. It's a workaround that lets me have local keyboard shortcuts, not global keyboard shortcuts. I just talked about a global keyboard shortcut, which was to bring back the drawing. But I also have local keyboard shortcuts for things like switching to different colors, for instance. And the way that these shortcuts work is I create a shortcut like this on a menu item over here that doesn't really exist in my app. Well, it exists, but you never really see that. But it's a hack, it's there. So I can have just an accelerator that will trigger when I hit the keyboard shortcut. So this is a poor man's version of keyboard shortcuts. But yeah, it's a hack, it's a workaround that works in our specific case because our app doesn't have a menu like this that you can see. So the application menu is a menu that is built for a template. So you can see that these two are similar, right? Then I have just a single option here. You can imagine that this menu has a single field. And let me catch up with chat. So Arya asks, something I've been learning is that when I write, I can never fully proofread it myself. Maybe it's just my ADHD, but do you think the same about programming? Possible to catch all your own errors? That's an interesting question. I think it's always a benefit to show your code to someone else, much like when you're writing. When you write a script for a video, for instance, I bet that you show the script to someone before you start recording. And I find that with code, it's the same. But I also think that there is a lot of value in doing what I'm doing today. I'm not writing a lot of code, and what the code that I am writing is not too interesting. I'm just mostly refactoring stuff, not doing architectural big stuff. But I find all these mistakes I did, and it kind of consolidates in my brain, because when I'm working, I am adding more and more features, and then I start to get anxious about the way things are going. It's just too much to keep in my head, and I find it therapeutic to go ahead and just reread everything I did and change things here and there that are in many cases inconsequential, but it's just a way of active reading, when you're interacting and editing stuff. So I don't think it's possible to catch all your own errors, especially because you tend to test things in much the same way. I tend to open the app and sort of do the same things, and when other people start using the app, they will use the app in different ways. So it's not possible ever to catch all your mistakes, but it's possible to catch many of them, especially if you force yourself into reading things actively, either by editing or by explaining to someone, like I'm doing right now on camera, or just explaining to a wall. There is this thing called rubber duck debugging, where you have a literal rubber duck on your desk and you explain your code to the rubber duck. And I find that that really, really helps. Yeah, and I find it amusing to read other people's code as well. So I am now taking an interest in lower level stuff, like I want to maybe develop a VST someday, and I wanted to get my feet wet on C and C++. So I downloaded Black Hole, the application that lets you connect sound coming out of one app into another app. So I downloaded Black Hole because I wanted to recompile Black Hole for different reasons. But I looked at this. I looked at the project and I saw that it was just 2 files. And I was like, okay, it's just 2 files. One of the files is this file. It is only 200 lines long. The other file is longer, but it is only 4,000 lines of code, which is not trivial. 4,000 lines of code is a lot of code, but I said, well, isn't this interesting? And I see comments, so I see that the thing is thought out. The person writing this tried to write a story for what the code does. So I was like, maybe I can read this. So I just started reading someone else's code like that. It's something that I do. I that's what I like doing when I have a couple minutes of spare time. So yeah, reading other people's code is super, super helpful. That's how I learned most of the stuff that I know. And reading our own code is very much like reading someone else's code because you will always forget what you did. Yeah, and that's why I focus so much when I'm writing code in this story. I focus on this story. I think about, the person who is reading this, where do they want to go first? Do they want to read first this part, or do they want to read that first? Or does it make sense as a story? Like I'm creating the browser windows and then I'm setting events. Does it make sense in this order, or should I do it the other way around? Yeah, I focus on the story because I know that a couple months from now, I'm going to go back into the code base and I'm going to be like, what is the story here? What's going on? In fact, that's more or less what I'm doing right now. Since I wrote this Notestrator app so spread out, I wrote a couple lines here and there, and then I would wait a week and come back to it. And you said that you had ADHD. Have you been diagnosed with that? I'm so sorry to hear that. I hear that it's actually very bad. In any case, I'm going to continue doing this. So hidden menu, you don't see that, but I have a single entry called shortcuts, and it's a and there is a sub menu with a bunch of entries like this that have keyboard shortcuts assigned to them. So let's see. I have to get this from the shortcuts JSON file, because the shortcuts are bound in the middle of running the static website generator to generate HTML. So that's what I'm doing here. I read the file and then I parse the JSON from there, and then I create an object. Entries. Well, why do I do it that way? Because I have stuff like this. Okay. Oh, and then I'm going to map. Well, okay, yeah, to be able to map, I have to have an object entry situation going. That's why I have it this way. Okay. Okay, so I map, and then the entries are going to be, again, I think it's better if I just have this over here. So the entries are going to be like the number 0, which is the accelerator, and the configurations, which is a list of configurations, and these are evaluation configurations. So maybe I will rename this configuration stuff configuration is going to be renamed to evaluation configuration because it's not clear what the configuration is about in this context. So let's see, I want to rename in these places. There you go. See, therapeutic refactoring. I think this is actually a talk, if I remember correctly. Therapeutic refactoring. Yeah, therapeutic refactoring by Katrina Owen. Has it been that long? I remember watching this when it came out. I did not go to this conference, but I remember watching it when it came out. Yeah, therapeutic refactoring. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm just calming myself. I don't remember the talk, actually. I watched it, but I forgot all about it except for the name. So I'm going to add this to rewatch later. Did this work? Yes. Yeah, but I guess what I'm doing is therapeutic refactoring in the way that Katrina talked about. I'm just changing names here and there. But now that I see this configuration stuff, I think it should be evaluation configuration, right? Makes more sense that way. Now let's see if everything is correct and commit. Then let me come back to chat because Arya answered. Yeah, quite recently. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was misdiagnosed as bipolar, or that's what the last doctor thought when I was a teen. But then in Canada, they said it's ADHD, and I was too young as a teen to be diagnosed. I hear that people try to diagnose people with ADHD when they are children, but they may, in many cases, they misdiagnose as well. And I guess some of the medication and therapy that you go through for ADHD is similar for bipolar. Man, not quite, actually. You treat yourself differently for these two conditions, right? I'm very sorry to hear that. Yeah, okay, so evaluation configuration, and then I have a label that you never see, but I have it. It's required, so there it is. And then I have an accelerator, and then when you click, I am going to go through the evaluation configurations, and I'm going to call evaluate with them. And then I have my lovely little show and quit stuff. And that is it in terms of the Electron part of the app. So for this last 15 minutes, I'm going to try to figure out why the menu is no longer showing up. Oh, I think I have a clue already. It probably has to do with these lines that usually would be inherited, I suppose, by the menu. Not necessarily inherited, but they would apply to the menu. Maybe I have to reproduce them here. Now I'm starting to do a lot of work for the menu to behave as if it is a child. So maybe I could go to the documentation again to really understand. Child windows no longer inherit browser window construction options from their parents. Probably this has the answer here. Removes the deprecated and not terribly useful feature of inheriting browser window options from parents on window open. Oh, I think that this is not the same. So yeah, something else is going on. But in any case, we are doing weird things with this window, and I think we should do weird things with that one as well. That is all, actually. That's all I'm doing that is weird. It's so weird that it flashes. Drawing is not defined. Oh, I am silly. How do I get into the... Okay. Yeah, this should be menu. Oh, no. Look at that. It worked. Why did it work? I don't know. And it does not show on every workspace. I can tell that if I move this to the other window, I can move it to the other window. I can draw on the other window. I have a secondary display here in which I'm following up with chat and everything. but it does not show up on every screen. But I guess that's the correct behavior. In any case, I think I fixed it. So I don't know why this fixes it, but it fixes it. So let's see. Aria says, mine is adult on set, actually. I guess that makes sense. Which is also why they thought bipolar. As a kid, I was very attentive and quiet. As an adult, I became hyperactive and scatterbrained. I feel that myself too. I used to be able to focus on something for hours, and these days I am able to focus on something for hours, but not as often and with fewer things. I have less control over the things that are the object of my attention. And I really, really forget stuff that is said to me. Feels really weird. It feels like you're a ghost and you're not really living what you're living because you will forget about it. And if you forgot about it, if you forget your own history, do you even exist anymore? Yeah, the meds are different. ADHD meds are mostly amphetamines. Okay. I don't know too much about that myself, but I think that's maybe a good time for me to wrap up because I can start diving into this, but I for sure will not have the time to finish. But everything, I think that everything we broke, we fixed. And the app is mostly working. And can I hide stuff? Okay, when I hide, it's not hiding all the windows. Um, yeah, that's easy. That's because of this. So again, it has to do with that whole menu not being a child anymore. Maybe I can do something like drawing dot. There are only 25 occurrences, so I'll fix all of them. And probably there is only like 2 at this point. Yeah, there is that one. Yep, there is only one. So I could, there is only this instance here of, let me show you. When I look for drawing hide, there is only this instance. So I could just say menu hide as well over here. But since we have these lovely little functions here, we could just do this. Right, and this is only going to be used in a single place, so it doesn't really warrant its own function like that. But then there is this symmetry that I really like show and hide and quit. So maybe we'll do that. And then we can just run in the main process the hide function. And now when I hide, everything is hidden, including the menu. Great, but I guess maybe I want to take this a step further. Right? You can see a pattern between these 3 functions. Essentially, I'm just looping over all the windows in the app, but now there is this other window, which is the menu window. So maybe what I can have is just an array that is all the windows in the app. And I'll say that these are the browser windows. Starts empty, and then I create the drawings stuff and the menu stuff, and I can push, or I was thinking about pushing this into the array, but I guess I can also come down here and say browser windows equals a list of all the drawings plus the menu. No, I think I prefer to push stuff just because it tells a better story. So my browser windows are well, now that I have this, I think I prefer to use the other version. Remember how I was thinking if I should do this? Now I think it's the time, because I'm going to push into 2 different places. So my drawing will go into the set of all browser windows, as well as into the list, not a set, a list of drawings. And when I define the menu, the last thing I do is browser windows push this menu. And I think I had the wrong name here, didn't? Yeah, I had the wrong name. This should be push. Could I have them as sets? Yes. Would that be helpful? Not really. Yeah, I could have these as sets. Wouldn't hurt. Yeah, I'll consider this. It's more intention revealing. And then it really becomes add. So all my browser windows are now in this set, and then my drawings, I add to the drawings, I add the browser windows, all right? Then over here, I also add the menu. So the intent here is that I can change these three implementations at once so that they are browser window of browser windows browser window. It's really hard to type browser sometimes. Okay. Okay. So what have we here? What did we change? Well, we changed this implementation, so it's now a for loop, and we collect all the browser windows, and we also turned the drawings into a set. So let's review all the places where we use drawings. There are only 12 of them, so this should be easy. Okay, so that is all right. I can iterate over a set like that. This is all right. I can iterate like over a set like this, but the indentation is wrong. I can fix that real quick. This is all right. Then I have my set, and I can iterate over a set like that. So there you go. Those are all the changes. I didn't need to change anything. That is perfect. Okay. Now I'm wondering if I did this here, should I change this to be a set? Because there is no notion of order here. And I'm not even really using the results from this anywhere. So I am free to change this without consequences. So I'm going to go and do that. But first I'm going to commit. So let me review all the changes again, just to make sure. Okay, all of that looks good. Then let's see where I have empty lists like that. I have the undo and redo stack, but that's far away and they make sense as lists. So over here, I'll also have a new set. I wonder if this thing is going to serialize fine. May not. But in any case, that's all I have to do. And is this even working? Can I draw? Well, cannot read properties of undefined. Where is this? That line. Okay, let's go there. My drawing doesn't have web contents anymore. Oh, I broke something. Let me catch up with chat. Aria is saying, Says, let's wrap, and now is lost in chain of thought. Classic ADHD. Yeah, I guess that's what I'm doing right now. Apparently, it's super common. Yeah, apparently it is super common. And the structure of your brain changes when you have a kid. And I feel like that is changing that aspect as well. Because I guess there is always a thread in my brain that is thinking about the baby. Okay, so that much is not supposed to do anything. I'm just changing from a list into a set, and I add stuff to the set like that. So I'm going to commit this anyway, but I need to see why this is not working. Error occurred in handler for evaluate. Cannot read properties of undefined. Reading execute JavaScript. So I suppose the error is happening over here, but that makes sense. Well, I don't know. Let's start some debugging here. Console log of drawings. I should see a set. Console log of drawing. I should see a window. I see a set. Then I see a window, a set again. That is not correct. Do I have a set of sets situation? Oh no. No. Oh yeah. I was adding a set to itself over and over. Oh, that is great. Okay, so that's now going to work, and I can probably undo this. Oh, no. Went too far. Okay, can draw. I can use keyboard shortcuts to change stuff. I can hide. I can show. Great. Silly mistake. Wrong variable name. Happens. It happens to the best of us. It wouldn't happen if I was using TypeScript, but that's a story for another day. Okay, so now that we have this, it may make sense for us to inline this, but not really. I don't think I'm going to inline this. Yeah, I like how I have this situation where I can show and hide and destroy with a single function call without having to loop over stuff. But I still think it was worth having this browser windows set to simplify this implementation underneath. So now it is 8 in my time zone, which is the time I set for myself to stop working on this for today. So I'm going to wrap this up now for real. And I think that the Electron part of the app, I am absolutely satisfied with. There is nothing else I would want to change about this part. So on not on Monday, tomorrow at 5:30 UTC, when I return to this, I'm going to look at this part, which is 1,000 lines of code. So it is a much more interesting, but the code here is a lot quicker to go through. So there is that. But we'll probably take on the task of changing font awesome and maybe restyling the menu and everything. And we'll discuss the things that we want to change. And we may even discuss how we want to extract the drawing engine into its own thing. Though I don't think I want to take that in this first iteration. I think we'll release that before I do that, because that will introduce a lot of complexity. And I want people interacting with the drawing engine by actually using the app. So that's that for today. I'm going to wrap this up now. And thank you, Aria, Ria Perini, and everyone else who was here watching me do this coding session. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. Isn't that what Kenny Joya always says when he's ending his videos? I hope you can use this. Yeah, it has been a lot of fun. Thanks for supporting me in all the different ways that you do, just by showing up, by going to Patreon and PayPal, by subscribing to the channel. And I see you all tomorrow for more of this.